Let's unlock the fretboard and memorize the fretboard at the same time. I promise you that this is the most efficient way to do this. If you don't know, my name is Ryan. I've been teaching guitar players for about 22 years now how to break out of that really boring, robotic pentatonic plateau that we all get into and bridge the gap between their creative ideas and what they are able to play. I would love if you would hit the subscribe and bell notification to get more videos on how to make your guitar playing better. Let's jump into this lesson. I did this as a short form video, and I wanted to do it as a long form video because it sort of took off pretty well. I apologize that I'm not in my usual office, but I kind of like it. Nice and airy here. So what we want to get away from is this sort of E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, right? And so on. And the reason is we're just memorizing. We are literally just memorizing. We're not learning, okay? There is so much information to memorize in this position, and then this position, and then this position, right? The guitar does move in two different directions, this way and this way. So the problem is it's not linear like a piano, right? The higher we get, it doesn't just keep repeating the way that a piano does every single octave. So we have way too much information to memorize. And the worst part is we don't have a goal for that memorization, right? We have nowhere to put it. So once we memorize all of the notes, which we're not really sure why we need to do it, we just either think it needs to be done, or maybe somebody told us at one point, or we think because a guitar player is further on their journey that they could do it, so we have to do it. That is not the case. It is way too much work for absolutely no benefit, okay? We're going to do this in a different way and attach something musically to learning, not memorizing, learning the notes on the fretboard. The best part too is we're going to do this in a way where we can start unlocking the fretboard to play solos all around the neck. This is like really great benefits here. So instead of just focusing on each position, this is what I want you to do. I want you to really quickly quickly or slowly, find all of the A's around the neck. I generally stay 12th fret and below, but I'll get up to that 14th fret in the G string. Okay, now we know where all the A's are, and we're already, just with one note, all around the neck. Now, of course, we don't know what all of the other notes, in between the A's are, but we are at least just with one note all around the neck. And just play that a bunch, right? Get really used to it. Maybe move it a little faster if you can. And what we're gonna do is, to make this functional and applicable to your guitar playing, we're gonna take the minor pentatonic. We're gonna take the A minor pentatonic, because that is, of course, right, the scale that we start using when we start improvising. And so it becomes really constructive to now attach this part, playing solos, right? Playing a scale that's actually usable in this stage in our journey to learn the notes on the fretboard. And we're doing a bunch of things at the same time, but we're learning, not memorizing. I don't know about you guys, but when I went back to college in my late 30s, I had to take a math class. So this is for songwriting, but I went and I had to take a math class. And all I would do was memorize, take the test, and then forget. That's what happens when you memorize. We're learning and we're attaching functionality and applicability. Woo! I'm gonna just try that again for the hell of it. If we can attach functionality and applicability to what we're memorizing or learning, that's where the learning process is. Otherwise, we're just memorizing. And in this case, like I said before, we're memorizing without an end goal. And that's why it just takes so long. So let's get into this application process. If I play my A minor pentatonic, all I want you to do is first finger on each one of those A's. Of course, this gets a little tricky, like when you're playing on either E string, depending on which position you're gonna do, just because you can't go that way on the high E here, and you can't go that way on the low E. But you're gonna go to each one of those A's, you're gonna put your first finger down, and you're just gonna play the first three notes of your A minor pentatonic. A, or 1, flat 3, 4. That's how I want you to do the number system at first. 1, flat 3, 4. The first three notes of the minor pentatonic, and that is the numeric spelling, okay? Do it all with every single one of those A's. You're gonna notice that the position, the pattern looks the same, right? Except there's always a little bit of a difference from the G to the B string, because those are only a major third apart from each other, not a fourth the way the other strings are, right? So you're playing that all around. Cool? Great. Now, you're gonna go to each one of those A's, and you can put your ring finger down, and you're gonna play 3 notes downward of the minor pentatonic. So 1, flat 7, 5. Now I'm just gonna show you this right here in this octave of the first position of our minor pentatonic. What I've done now is I've said, all right, I've got my A, my 1, my root note, 1, flat 3, 4, and then from this A, 1, flat 7, 5, that's my whole minor pentatonic in one octave. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. That's how we can start bridging these together. Let's do another one right here. Where I ended that octave. 1, flat 3, 4, and then here, 1, flat 7, 5. I can put that together. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Cool. All right, doing this all around the neck, 1, flat 3, 4, and my A up here. 1, flat 7, 5, bridge it together. Now the cool thing is, like I did here, you can bridge 2 octaves together, right? 1, 1, and 1, or A, and A. You can even go your 1, flat 3, 4, and even the 5 there to bridge all of that together. This becomes super beneficial because now we're saying, all right, I'm starting to play these fragments without getting lost of this minor pentatonic all around the neck, which is great. And I'm also understanding the numeric spelling, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, right, where those are. That becomes incredibly important when you're trying to play solos. Now, let's get into the memorizing the notes of the fretboard part. If we just take our A minor pentatonic, that's it. I would love for you to do this in a whole bunch of other keys, especially for this sort of applicable numeric spelling, understanding the pentatonic. I would love for you to do this in all other keys. But if we take just those 5 notes, just the A minor pentatonic, and we start attaching that first idea of memorizing the notes of the fretboard, we're gonna uncover a lot, nearly everything. Let me show you. A, C, D, E, G. Those are my 5 notes, A, C, D, E, G, of my A minor pentatonic, right? No sharps or flats, we don't have to worry about anything like that. If I know that now, everywhere I go, A, C, D, E, G, back to A, right? A, C, D, E, G, back to A, right? Even if I'm just playing this position of the A minor pentatonic, right? A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, right? I can take that now, I could take that throughout the other positions. If you have all 5 positions of the minor pentatonic sort of like patterned out for you, right? I could just do it C, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C. My second position of the minor pentatonic. A really great exercise. When I start noticing where all of this is, where all the A's are, where all the C's are, where all the D's are, where all the E's are, and where all the G's are, it's not hard to fill in the rest of the notes, right? I mean, if I have my A, right? If I just go up a half step, A sharp or B flat, go down a half step, right? G sharp or A flat, depending if you're in a sharp or a flat key, right? So if I'm in C, right? If I want to find a B, it's just a half step down from C. So if I really know where those C's are, it's going to be very easy for me to find the B's, right? If I really know where those E's are, it's going to be really easy for me to find the F, a half step away, And that's where we can really learn all of the notes without having to sit there and go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, right? And so on. And also now I'm spanned around the entire guitar fretboard. Where we really want to attach that sort of applicability and functionality to this as well is I could think both numerically and note if I want to. And I can come up with a lick, okay? 3-note lick, perfect. D, C, A, or 4, flat 3, 1, right, in my A minor pentatonic. And what I can do is now move that all around in each one of those positions. Because if I can do 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, I can certainly do 4, flat 3, 1, because that's only 3 notes, and I already know all 5 notes, or am starting to, right? And you just move that all around, right? All the different positions, even getting into, that flat 3 being up here like we did before with the... Now you start moving that lick around, okay? Come up with a little bit of a different lick and move that one around. Now we're developing a musical vocabulary. We're unlocking the entire fretboard with just this A minor pentatonic. And we're understanding where each one of those notes are, right? So now you could say, okay, cool. I have a lick. I'm moving that around the neck a little bit, right? Feels pretty good. I can definitely figure out where... all of those sort of fragmented parts of the A minor pentatonic, right? 1 octave from the 1 to 1. Right? I can figure out where all of those are. Right? Then I can start looking at the 5 positions of the A minor pentatonic or the minor pentatonic, and I can say, oh, I'm starting to really see where all of this is starting to fit in, right? Right? I can see where all of these little fragments really fit in, and how to utilize those positions. Because now those positions of the minor pentatonic aren't just these patterns and dots on a diagram. Now they have a little bit more functionality this way, right? That's why this particular exercise just has so many benefits. Then you're going to develop a musical vocabulary, a couple, whatever the lick is, and start moving that around. And we're really starting to open up the fretboard, and we're doing it with function and with intention, right? And we're combining memorizing the notes of the fretboard, right? Then we're combining opening up the neck, which we want to do to be able to play solos all around the neck, and taking musical vocabulary licks all around the neck as well, and attaching not just the numeric spelling. Numeric spelling is great because if I change keys, I don't have to worry about the notes, right? I can just say like, okay, well, at least, okay, if I go to B flat, at least I know it's 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And then I can, all right, I'm already a step ahead, and then I can start plugging the notes in that way, if that's what I want to do. So the numeric spelling is very beneficial. And then in the A minor pentatonic, saying, okay, now I can figure out what these notes are as well. There's so much there. And what we really see is these are not separate concepts, right? What the notes are, where they fall in the neck, how they relate to a scale, and how we can play them musically. It's all the same thing. It's all the language of music, and we don't have to split things up. This is the same idea when people get into the A minor pentatonic or the minor pentatonic, and then they're like, cool, I got it. Okay, cool, I can start creating some licks and some solos. And then they're like, oh, I have to do that for the second, third, fourth, and fifth position of the A minor pentatonic. That's 4 different scales. But it's not. It's the same scale, right? And then if we think of it that way, it's like, oh, now I have to learn modes. There's 7 different modes. Well, not really. It's all the same language. So if we have the minor pentatonic and the major pentatonic, putting the modes in is going to be pretty easy if this is the way that we're looking at it, sort of like learning language and building language. And it's like, oh man, like, in F7, in F7, sharp 9, flat 13, whatever, ultra dominant. What does that mean? It's like, well, we're already learning the spelling, right? And I know that we're only using like 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, but we can figure this out. It's the same language moving up. Rather than having to memorize, and then go back and jam some musical vocabulary, and try to figure, how do I use it? We can learn all of this together, and it makes the process way easier. And way more functional because we're attaching something that we want, which is playing the guitar, and creating music on the guitar. So that is going to be your exercise to really unlock the fretboard. And the cool thing, like I said, is it has something musical attached to it. If you're learning guitar solos, like your favorite guitar solos, whether it's like Jimmy Page, like AC/DC, whomever, blues stuff, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you'll look at it learn those licks, and you'll be able to say like, oh, I know what's going on there. And then sort of look at it and say, oh, I actually also know like what notes those are. So I hope that this helped, because I find this so much better and so much more functional. I think when a lot of people come to me and they say like, hey, I want to learn all the notes on the fretboard. I mean, really the thing is why, right? Because even if you know all of the notes on the fretboard, right? If you sat there and you memorized, I have no idea how long that would take somebody, but if you memorized all of the notes on the fretboard, it still turns into, well, what are you gonna do with it, right? But if you can start creating some music, right? And then moving that around the neck, and then also learning the notes of the fretboard. Now we have intention, and we're not memorizing, we are learning. So that all being said, if you are an intermediate guitar player that's sort of stuck in that boring, sort of robotic pentatonic plateau that we absolutely all get into, and you really want to bridge the gap between your creative ideas and what you are able to play, becoming fully fretboard fluent, you comment pro below, or check out the link to a free training that I have. I go through why we get stuck in those plateaus and 3 really great steps, not just to break out, to start creating better guitar solos with those 3 steps, but also a little bit of a mindset to make sure that you don't get stuck in the next plateau. And you can use these sort of mindsets moving forward in your learning so that you don't get stuck again. And like I said, there's stuff to use right away to make your guitar solos better today. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.